Hi everyone, it's Christine here from Ever After Paper Crafts, and I have a really fun card to share with you today using the adorable Yeti set from Mama Elephant again. I just can't stop playing with these adorable stamps. This is the card that we're going to be working on today, and I'm honestly really happy with how this one turned out. Sometimes you just kind of get a plan in your head and it works out, and that's really cool when that happens. I used a new for me technique today with a couple new products. So we're going to go over how I did the background, and then I will quickly color the Yeti for you here today. Now, I've already done a Yeti card, and I showed you in that video how I painted not these exact two little kids, but the same images, just different colors. So I will link you to that video in the description box of this video below, because I don't want to kind of repeat myself since I've already done a video on that. But just so you know, I did watercolor these little kids, a little boy and a little girl, and I show you how to do that in the prior video. So today we're going to be working on this sparkly snowflake background and also coloring the cute Yeti. He's also coated in glitter. There we go, as you can see from my Wink of Stella pen, and of course all of these snowflakes are all nice and glittery as well. The sentiment is white heat embossed, and then we've got some blue twine and some sequins. And it all fits very nicely on a standard A2 size note card. The stamp sets that I use today is, of course, the Me and My Yeti stamp set from Mama Elephant, which is absolutely adorable. Cannot say enough good things about it. And I also used for the sentiments from a Yeti stamp set from Mama Elephant as well. This is from their brand new, most recent release, and definitely check it out, guys. These images are too adorable. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. And like I said, I want to start showing you how I did the background. What I did is I took a piece of Desert Storm Nina cardstock. This is one of my favorite craft cardstocks, but you can use whatever craft cardstock you have in your stash. This is just an 80-pound cardstock. You don't need a super thick or specialty cardstock for this technique. And you can do any color as well. I just chose craft for today because I am doing a little bit of distress inking, and I'm using the oxides, and they show up on craft paper very nicely. So I wanted to do some Distress Oxide inking first, and then we'll do the stenciling with the fun snowflakes. So quickly, let me bring over my scratch paper here. And I'm just going to put a little line of ink from the Distress Oxide inks kind of in the middle, kind of arching this way. I used two oxide inks. I used Salty Ocean and Faded Jeans. And this is just super easy, pretty much as easy as it gets in terms of inking. I just put my little foam applicator together here with the foam pad, and then I just am putting some Salty Ocean down first, and see how beautiful this is on this Desert Storm craft cardstock. I just love that you can ink now on colored cardstock with the Distress Oxide inks. They just show up really nice, and it's just kind of a fun alternative to inking on white paper. And again, this is not specialty paper. I'm even going to spritz this with water. And you can do this on regular cardstock as long as you're pretty light with the water. Okay, so this is looking good. I just wanted a little bit, kind of, like I said, this way, just to give some interest to the design. I'm now going to come in with some Faded Jeans and just kind of very, very light hand, kind of mix it with some of the Salty Ocean. I'm not putting the Faded Jeans everywhere. I'm just kind of putting it a few places here and there so that you can see there is a distinction in blue color. I'm now going to come back in with my Salty Ocean and simply blend all of this together. And there is no magic to how I am doing this at all. No special technique. I'm just putting the ink on the paper and making sure that I iron out all of the kind of the little lines that the foam pads can leave behind. I'm just ironing that out with a light hand here as I go back in with my Salty Ocean. And that's looking really, really nice. Again, no secret to this at all. Very easy technique. So I'm going to go ahead now and close up our inks and remove our foam pads, or else I will make a mess and get ink everywhere. Trust me on that. All right. Now I'm going to take, as I said, a little tiny bit of water with my distress sprayer here, and I'm just going to give this a little bitty spritz. Very light with the water, because again, this isn't watercolor cardstock, so we don't want to saturate it or it will warp really badly. Now I'm just going to take a paper towel and blot, and there you go. There's a very nice kind of reaction there with the water and the Distress Oxide inks. Now, because I'm going to be doing some stenciling over top of this, I want to go ahead and hit this with my heat gun just to make sure that it is completely dry. So that's why I'm doing this. If you were doing this at home, you know, you could easily just wait a couple minutes, no worries, and then get on with your project. But since I'm on camera and want to go quickly here, I'm just going to hit this with my heat tool quickly here. Make sure it's very dry. All right, so the next step is to create the snowflakes. This is an embossing paste that I used to create this look. However, it's a specialty embossing paste. It is called from Cosmic Shimmer, and it's called Sparkle Texture Paste. I got mine at Simon Says Stamp, but you could also just use regular embossing paste. Ranger makes some that's available at Michael's. If you don't want to order online, the only difference is your snowflakes would be bright white on this background as opposed to this kind of muted silver color, and that would honestly look gorgeous too. I almost decided to do the white on the video today just to show you the difference, but I wanted to show you how I'd made this exact card, so I changed my mind. But I will be doing some white, just plain white, easy to locate and purchase embossing paste in future videos. It's just such a fun technique. You're also going to need a stencil. And I have chosen here just a snowflake stencil. This happens to be from EK Success. You could really do anything. You could do little dots to look like snow. You could do hearts. You could really do anything that you wanted. So I'm going to position this on my cardstock exactly how I want it. And then I'm going to turn the stencil over and just simply tape my cardstock with some Post-it tape, which is a very low tack tape, to the back of the stencil. That way my cardstock will not shift while we're doing this. All right, there we go. So now my cardstock is in place underneath my stencil. The next thing that the next product rather that you're going to need is just a very inexpensive little palette tool, and these are really easy to find. They're very inexpensive as well. So what you're going to do is you're going to open up, you know, if you're using this special texture paste, go for it. If not, if you're just using regular white embossing paste, whatever you're using, open it up and take your little palette knife here and just kind of give it a little bit of a stirring to get it working here. And then you're going to put some on your palette knife, and you are going to simply, I kind of get it gooped on the top here. You really don't need a whole lot. So I get it gooped on the top. You can see that there. And then I sort of put it down onto the stencil. And right now it's not on anything. It's just there. And now I'm going to take the palette knife and get it into the crevices of the stencil. Basically like you're buttering bread or you're making peanut butter and jelly or something like that. And as you can see, a little bit goes a relatively long way. I've already got 4 snowflakes, you know, completely covered, and I'm working on this one. So then you just simply keep repeating this until you get the entire area that you want stenciled covered with the paste. So we're just going to keep going here. As you can see, I keep going back to where I've laid it down before because some of the paste will pool there, and so you can get more out of your product by just going back, continuing to go back over and pick up some that has been left behind. That way you don't, you know, use more of your product than you need to. Now we're ready to come up here to this third row. I'm going to stick some more down and then butter it, as I like to say. You could also do this with transfer gel and do some foiling. Really, I'm really liking what I'm seeing in the industry these days in terms of stenciling and different products that you can use with your stencils and different techniques that you can do. Stencils are very inexpensive, so the price point is fantastic. And it's just really lovely to see that there are so many cool ways now to use these inexpensive stencils and get really awesome, unique looks on your cards. I'm really loving this, and definitely will be showing lots more ideas with stencils in future videos because I am really loving all the different techniques that are out there these days. And we are almost done, guys. We almost have our entire area covered. All right, now I'm just going to kind of collect some of the excess here and go back over everything one more time just to make sure all of the snowflakes are covered. This is looking really great. And then I'm just going to bring my little tub over here and put the, you know, what's left so we don't waste it back into the little bottle. And then to clean my spatula, you could definitely just use some soap and water, but I just grabbed a baby wipe and wipe off the spatula. In terms of cleaning your stencil, you're going to want to run it under water relatively quickly after you have used it. You don't want the paste to kind of dry on the stencil, because then it's a lot more difficult to get off. And you definitely want to preserve your stencils. Okay, so we are done with this. Now we have to gently peel this away so we can set the stencil aside, get it cleaned up, and then of course we'll have our beautiful background. And there it is. I am just thrilled with how this one came out too. Look at this. Look how beautiful that is. Let me bring it up to the camera. Look how beautiful and shimmery and shiny and sparkly, and it all went perfectly onto every single snowflake. Not one mistake there, which I love. And then you can see that pretty blue that we inked on underneath it. So I really, really, really like how this turned out. I'm going to remove my tape, just being very careful. And now I'm going to set this aside to dry. And like I said, as soon as I get off camera, I will be cleaning that stencil with water and soap at a sink, so I don't, you know, mess up that stencil, because we certainly want to keep our stencils alive and working well. Okay, so let me bring back over the finished card now. So as you can see, it's a very simple card design. I let the snowflakes and the little Yeti and the sentiment really take center stage in this particular card design. And so now I'm just going to quickly show you how I colored the Yeti. When you're coloring something that's white, it's still going to have some shading on it, but it's hard to shade white. So usually what I do, and I would do this if I was watercoloring or using my Zig markers. In this case, I am doing painting with my Zig markers and a water brush. But I would be doing the same thing if I were using Copics. And so I would either use a light gray or a light blue to symbolize the shading of the white image. So in this case, I chose light blue. I've already stamped the Yeti with my favorite Hero Arts black dye ink onto some Canson XL watercolor paper. And now I'm going to take my light blue Zig marker, and I'm just going to put my marker along the inside outline of the little Yeti. This is so easy. It really doesn't get much easier than this. But I just wanted to quickly show you how I did this. In case you were wondering, on my other Yeti card, I showed how I painted the tiny little boy and the little girl, and I did not show how I painted the Yeti. So I wanted to make sure that I did show that. He's kind of a bigger image, and when you're working with zigs, that can be a little tricky. But because we're just using this minimal shading technique, it is so easy. It is so easy. So let's see, let me just get under this arm as well. So as you can see, it looks a big old mess right now. I have literally just outlined the inside, right up against the inside lines of the image with the light blue marker ink from the Zig markers. I'm now going to take my fine detailer water brush, and I'm just going to, in a circular motion, let me squeeze some water out. I don't have much water flowing. There we go. I'm going to blend this and soften this. This line, and the water is going to react, of course, with the marker and kind of, you know, paint it. It's going to paint that marker color around your image. And so we're going to lessen the line that we get. That line between the blue and the white is going to be softened from the water. And it's just going to look like a little shadow around the Yeti, where there would be shading naturally in the image. So this is just so super easy to do. And it really gets your image looking more realistic. So let's come under here, shade under his arm, and then along here where there would be an actual shadow. So super easy, guys. It really doesn't get much easier than this. There you go. This is looking great. So we're just, again, just going in a circular motion around to mix this blue ink into the paper so it will soften, make that line basically disappear, the line of marker I mean, and give us this shadow, this halo kind of in our image to give that illusion of shading. All right, there you go, guys. That easy. To color his face, I used gray and dark gray. And I just kind of put some of the darker color first down. I'm going to try to avoid his teeth because I want those to be very white, kind of stand out from his face. I'm going to use some light gray as well. Mix that with the gray. And we're just mixing here in a circular motion. And then we'll use our water brush to mix that together. And again, we're avoiding the teeth as best we can here, so we can keep those fun teeth nice and white. All right. Now, you can probably notice a lot of this gray ink went outside here. That's simply because I had to clean my water, I had to squeeze my water brush to get it flowing because I hadn't used it in a day or so. And I didn't wait for this blue to dry before putting the gray in. I've said in other videos before, definitely when you're working in areas where you have to butt a color right up against another color, wait till that color is dry. You only have to wait a few seconds, but in this video, I did not for purposes of the video. But I can still fix this. So what I'm gonna do is I have a clean water brush and I'm just kind of going in a circular motion to clean up this gray ink. It may take going at this several times to get it working and to get it erased, but you will eventually be able to erase all of this gray ink, blot it some with a paper towel, and I'm going to pull this up to the camera in just a minute because I think you guys will be amazed at how I was able, there was a lot of gray ink outside the face of this Yeti, and it's all gone. And I just think that that is a wonderful tool that you're able to do with these zig markers, and I think it makes them, hopefully it makes them less intimidating because it's really hard to make mistakes. Well, let me rephrase that. It's easy to make mistakes. It's even easier to fix them. All right, so let me pull this up. There is now no gray outside of his face, which I just think is absolutely awesome. Now to do his little horns, I just used a dark blue. I used a peacock blue. So I'm just gonna kind of go along the outside edge there, and then just use my water brush to blend that. Do the same thing on the other side. All right, now I want to put a little bit of blush on his cheeks, so I'm going to use some sugared almond pink and just put that down. And then I like to take my water brush and just kind of go over the cheeks a little bit just to make them a little more circular and to blend them in a little bit into that gray. Now I'm going to take the, let's see, the light, no, we'll just use regular gray, and just color in his little claws here. And I'm not worried about using water on this because it's such a tiny little space. I'm just not going to worry about that. Again, a little bit of gray came out. We'll fix that simply because this area was still wet from the blue. And then let me find my white gel pen. I'm going to take my white gel pen and color his teeth in, so they are nice and white. And then I'm going to take my black gel pen, darken his eyes, and then go back over the line here of his mouth. It kind of got a little dim from the white pen. And there you have it. That just kind of makes those eyes and mouth and teeth pop. And that's it, guys. That's our little Yeti that we've quickly colored here. Again, look, no gray outside. It was all outside. It looked a mess. It looked like you would have to throw this away, but I was able to salvage it just by fixing it. These markers are very forgiving, which I love. So let me bring back over the little background that we made on camera. Isn't that beautiful? Now all you have to do is wait for this to dry. I would wait like maybe about an hour. It should be dry in about an hour, and then you could put your card together. And here is that finished card. There's the Yeti, and the last thing that I did for the Yeti is of course covered him with the Wink of Stella clear glitter pen to make him nice and sparkly and glittery to really go with that background. The little blue, dark blue twine up here just simply came in a package from Michael's. Very inexpensive. The whole package, you got 12 colors and the whole package was $5. And then the sentiment was embossed in white. So that's it, guys. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and that you'll give some of these techniques a try. Thank you so much for crafting with me today and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.